Now we're going to get into the final stretch of this review. I appreciate if you stuck it around, but now you're going to hear me rant and rave even more, if you will. This is coming from the fan of Transformers, that is Daniel. Um, Again, fuck this movie. Completely ruining and destroying the lore. Hell, it doesn't even match up with fucking Bumblebee correctly. Jesus Christ, this movie is so goddamn stupid. My God, do you have any idea how fucking dumb it is to introduce the Maximals? This is an issue that I had a long time ago, and I stated this a long time ago upon them releasing and talking about this damn movie. But it is so unbelievably fucking stupid to have the Maximals interact with the Autobots. Fucker. This is some shit that they actually did within the Transformers C show that came on Netflix. And it didn't work when they did it then. It doesn't work now, especially if you do not actually add in the characters that are the Maximals in the way that they're supposed to be shown. Cheetor barely spoke. Rhinox didn't speak at all. Airraiser didn't even fucking transform. It's so unbelievably stupid to do this when realistically the only reason that you're doing it is to try and just bolster sales a little bit because people remember Beast Wars, if in fact they do remember Beast Wars. But this could have been handled so much better if one, they got rid of the human aspect, and two, they just focused on the fucking Transformers. For the love of God, you have yet to do a Transformers movie correctly. One that actually follows or connects with the way how they did in the series, which wouldn't be a hard thing to do. You already rebooted the series so that you basically made everyone or like you made it a period piece that takes place within the 90s or the and like late 80s and whatnot. And then essentially you made it to where everyone looks similar to their Gen 1 counterpart, which was a big fucking deal, especially within the Bumblebee series, where it's like they look so much like Gen 1, they look so much like Gen 1, but they don't do Gen 1 shit. So then what exactly is the point? So what if they look like the way they're supposed to look? They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is what's iconic about this goddamn series, you fucking idiot.
Angry. Angry young man.
So instead of actually making a good story that revolves around the Transformers and actually might be compelling, you instead wanted to just shoehorn in the Beast Wars because 90s kids remembers the Beast Wars. No, shoehorn in the Maximals because 90 kids remember Beast Wars. And then essentially you still don't make any sense as far as what the Autobots would be doing on Earth or how supposedly they're going to get back to Cybertron because these motherfuckers are in the midst of a goddamn war. Stupid motherfucker. Hell, they even just had the mentioning of Energon, let alone it not being a main staple of Power Source, which is one of the reasons why they fight so much on Earth between the Decepticons and the Autobots in the first place. Hell, they don't even mention the Decepticons within this movie. Like they're not brought up at all. There's a little teaser where the guy is stealing patches from motherfuckers, and one of the patches happens to be the Decepticon symbol as well as a Predacon symbol, and it does not mean anything. It's one of the laziest and stupidest ways that you can convey anything. That happens a lot, where essentially it's like, ooh, see that? It's a little Easter egg, but it has no bearing on the story whatsoever. So then it's like, well, who cares? What nudge, nudge, wink, wink? It doesn't mean anything. Who gives a fuck? But it's like you have dumb people lap this shit up, and essentially they just feel that like, yeah, no, they did good. I thought this way like they did this exact same thing within the Bumblebee movie where they had multiple incursions where it was different things that if you was an actual fan of Transformers, it would make you smile. Whether it was the first appearance of everyone in the Gen 1 way, them actually fighting on Cybertron, Optimus getting down on Cybertron, blowing a whole bunch of people away, killing them and whatnot. Stuff like that makes fans happy. Hell, having You Got the Touch being played as the girl was like going to this little cliff jumping beach party for whatever reason, being played in the movie, put a smile on my face. That's a very well-known song played within the Transformers old 80s show, especially on the movie. But again, it has no bearing if it doesn't mean anything, you know? And it's like, yeah, it's a nice little nudge to fans, but this isn't doing anything that essentially the fans would adhere to or actually give a fuck about. You still haven't established the Decepticons and Autobots being able to go back and forth between battling on Earth to Cybertron, you still haven't had a good incursion or showcasing a lot of other Autobots that actually matter or might have some type of presence that people could generally like outside of Optimus and Bumblebee. You still haven't showcased or even had Megatron look right. So, how the fuck could you possibly justify introducing the fucking Maximals if you're not even going to adhere to what the Maximals generally did, which literally which literally was that they existed without any people on Earth in the first place? God damn it. These characters are capable of holding their own without people. You do not need to fill up a bunch of people in the mix in order for everyone to understand what's going on. You're not dealing with like a Clifford the Big Red Dog kind of movie or something like that, or a non-talking monster, or Herbie, the fucking car that can wink and blink and whatnot. These are actual sentient beings that just so happen to be robots that can transform. They talk, they feel, they die, they move, they do all this shit on their own. You need that character aspect through them, which they already have, as they're already known and associated fucking characters. So you don't need to go out of your way to try to make people understand or feel anything with this new motherfucker when no one gives a fuck about this guy. They're here for the Transformers. I was there to see Transformers, not whiny Puerto Rican whose brother is dying of sickle cell anemia and a black chick who just does not reach for the stars. This could have been handled so much better. This should have been handled so much better. This did not need to include the Maximals. It should have just been more of what Bumblebee was essentially trying to start, which is what it ended off on, and honestly felt as if that's what they needed to grow on, which is that he came to Earth. He was helping establish a base of operations on Earth, to which then the Autobots would then use that to prepare to attack Cybertron, which should have been fine considering the fact that these people are capable of going on and off world multiple ways without the need of either a warp gate or a space bridge or anything like that. Something that they could build later on, as it is technology that is commonplace within their world. An easy fucking fix. Yes, you can introduce a kid that get wrapped up with them and helping them out or whatever. That's fine, but you don't need to divulge so much resources into trying to flesh out this character who honestly is not a fun or important fucking character. They don't matter. And then you have the exact same issue that essentially Marvel has when they try to have, well, I'll say the more apt movie would be the Justice League movie, where you have this abundance of characters who essentially all need to be fleshed out. And unlike Marvel, who had separate movies to flesh out these characters, thus when you stuck them all together, they were in edible bites. That way it was like, yeah, I know that this person does this, I know this person does that, because I've seen this movie, I've seen that movie, I've seen this movie, and I've seen that movie. And because of that, it was far more easy. You could digest what was going on a hell of a lot easier. While as with this movie, you essentially forego the notion of trying to do anything when it came to the Transformers, the actual sentient beings that can speak for their own and whatnot, as well as the Maximals, other sentient beings that can speak for themselves and whatnot, and then focus your emotional attachment and aspect towards the humans, who realistically are going to be in this one-off movie and kind of just pushed to the wayside because you're going to introduce other humans that you're going to try and build up everything all over again. So it doesn't fucking matter. But now, realistically, there is no emotional attachment to any of the Autobots who would make a reoccurrence within this series, because who gives a fuck? You didn't do anything with them. No one cares. There's a reason people enjoy Bumblebee. Bumblebee, like I said, is a main staple character who was showcased early on within the franchise. When it came to Shia LaBeouf, he was the one that was always around the main character. So all you have to do is essentially give presence like that towards another character. No, it doesn't have to be the quirky, silly, funny thing that Bumblebee does when it comes to the radio, but still someone that's able to actually have some type of screen presence. And what you did in this movie by basically shoehorning in Pete Davidson unfunny ass into this movie is that you basically ruined that, because you gave no type of shine to any other type of fucking Autobot. which honestly would have been a much better way of handling this. So you didn't need to involve the Maximals, rather than you just needed more Autobots. That way, if you had more Autobots or more Decepticons, you then could flesh out those characters the way how they're supposed to be fleshed out. You can dive into the complexity of the Decepticons to where you have Starscream plotting against Megatron, or you have other Decepticons loyal to a fault to Megatron without knowing what actually he did in order to take over the rule of Cybertron. You have those who do know what he did to take over the rule of Cybertron, and they just don't give a fuck. You have the Autobots, who essentially some that are like loyal to a fault behind Optimus, and some who kind of having second thoughts about joining in this resistance. You can have the infighting and the crazy ass display between the characters, to where you have some Autobots that defect over to the Decepticon side, some Decepticons that defect over to the Autobot side. They can carry that humane aspect because that's what they're supposed to do. That's what they've always done. You do not need to make this so black and white when it comes to the robots, my guy. I don't understand why this is hard to grasp. All you need to do, it's so fucking easy. It is so fucking easy to make a good Transformers movie. And after all these years of being able to actually show them okay within the movies. Hell, I didn't even complain about the graphics because it looked fine. It generally looked fine. It was okay. But they just didn't do anything, thus making it fucking boring. So yeah, they're cool looking and whatnot, and it's fine in terms of graphics, but nothing was going on. So I was bored out of my fucking mind looking at this. And it's just unbelievably stupid. Ugh. And then the crescendo, the piece de resistance that was done at the end of this movie, is that the main character, essentially, when he went to his little interview that was turns out to be a sham in Men in Black proportions, it actually was a place that was hiring him or recruiting him for G.I. Joe. Let me let that sink in. It was for G.I. Joe. He already got a mechanized super suit, but then he was introduced into G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe don't exist with Transformers. G.I. Joe can't fuck with Transformers. They're different people. This movie decided to have it to where G.I. Joe was not only aware of the threat that was going on with the Autobots and the Maximals, but they decided to not do anything with the threat that was going on with the Autobots and the Maximals. And then they proceeded to recruit the guy who was dealing with the Autobots and the Maximals, as if we're going to have a crossover with G.I. Joe, Autobots, and Maximals. And that is supposed to make someone happy, because that's what literally everyone has been clamoring for. We have not had a good Transformers movie or a good G.I. Joe movie. And yet, for some reason, we're trying to bridge both of these franchises together. What fucking franchise? There is no G.I. Joe movies. None of them. None of them. The Snake Eyes movie was a flop because it was a crack of shit. And the other two G.I. Joe movies are very bad. The first one is palpable. It is, I can stomach it, right? I can stomach it. It just needed fine tuning, and it could have been good. It was doing okay with some aspects of it. How they introduced Cobra Commander, how he got made, and what they did. That was okay. That was okay. But, much like the Transformers, dropped the ball when it came to the second movie, and then it was like, yeah, just go fuck yourself. But these movies have not done well at all in terms of keeping to the lore, in terms of actually making sense, in terms of being overall entertaining, which is why they reset the shit in the first place. People didn't care for the Last Night Transformers movie. It was ridiculous. They introduced magic when it came to these robots. And I don't know why, for whatever reason, you handpick a director who essentially decided to go, I want to make this blackity black and scream about race, as well as try to shoehorn in as many different types of accolades as you can in terms of just focusing on characters who don't fucking matter. Hell, the main character could have easily have been a combination of both the black female character as well as the Puerto Rican character all in one.
Our next character is called Extreme Makeover. Ready? Extreme Makeover.
Where he was someone who generally was interested in robotics or artifacts and things like that, and he still wanted a paying job, but he loved doing the museum work, but more so he was looking for, trying to work two jobs at the same time while realistically having the issue of not getting paid doing what he loves, but still need to get paid doing something that he has to do, but he just can't. And so then when push comes to shove, it's like, all right, to make some quick money because my brother needs his treatments, I'm gonna go out and steal a car. Boom, bam, you got one character doing everything that you need. You don't need to focus so much on trying to divulge and explore these two characters, but essentially you just kind of break it down with the one.
Extreme makeover.
And then considering how ridiculous everything else was within this movie, I don't see that being that big of a deal or that far-fetched of a problem. But I didn't make this piece of shit movie now, did I? So, yeah, that's it. I'm going to end it there. Just needed to get that off my chest because, like I said before, I do not encourage anyone to go see this movie. It was bad. It was really bad. It had a lot of things in it that was just incredibly wrong. It had a lot of things in it that just didn't make any sense. It's a movie I would say you can't even really shut your brain off and just enjoy because there's nothing really entertaining going on within it. So, yeah. No, sir, I don't like it. I didn't like it at all. And that'll be the end of that. This has been another episode of Fun with Flame. I've been your host, Dan Flame. There's always good people. Hope you have fun. Because I fucking didn't. Hey, real quick, make sure you check any of the links down below if you want to see any of the stuff that I'm involved with. This includes more episodes of my podcast, as well as a comic book that I'm working on with my buddies over at These Guys. But as always, this has been another episode of Fun with Flame. I've been your host, Daniel the Flame, and as always, good people, I hope you had fun.